Hello, it's Linda Emsley from Love Lali. Welcome to the Lounge Room Chat. It's Wednesday lunchtime and I hope you're having a mighty fine week so far. So as you may recall, in previous weeks I've been talking about how to detox your corporate career. So I'm going to continue on that theme and also follow on the thread from last week when I did actually catch up with the gorgeous Christy from Everlasting Health NT, and we spent some time talking about adrenal fatigue. So I thought it might be useful if we had a little bit of a chat today about stress management, and I wanted to share with you some stress management techniques as well. So I just want to keep it a little bit upbeat and away we go, because stress can be really supercharging. It can also be something that puts you on edge and actually has you starting to slide down that slippery slope to where moods are not so flash, and we don't really want to go there. So I'm just going to keep it a little bit upbeat and just have a little bit of discussion around, well, what is stress anyway? How do you know when you're feeling stressed? So, you know, we did touch on stress last week with adrenal fatigue, that it's a body response to an immediate threat to life and limb. That's where our stress response originated. So, you know, you do have really strong physiological responses to that chemical that's released by the adrenal glands in response to immediate threat. And these physiological responses are shallow respiration, faster breathing, increased heart rate. The blood goes to your limbs, so all energy and blood essentially are diverted from non-essential parts of the body like your digestive system and sent to your extremities to get you out of danger. So you can either fight, run, or even freeze. Those body responses are still the same. So that's essentially what the stress response is, a physiological response to an immediate life threat. Unfortunately, in our day and age, we tend to have that response to a lot of other stressors that aren't immediately life-threatening, and we aren't actually equipped to let the residue of those stress responses actually filter through the body and be metabolized out of the body so that they're no longer actually dangerous to the body. So, you know, when we are running away from whatever it is that's trying to eat us, the chemicals that are stimulated to give us that response are naturally and normally metabolized by the activity that we're undertaking to save our lives. But in our modern life, we tend to get stressed by things like deadlines, by trains to catch, by traffic jams, by things that are probably more chronic and frustrating than they are actually. Hey Katerina, thanks for dropping in. So lovely to have you here today. I'm talking about stress and some stress management techniques a little bit later on. So just a quick recap on the bodily response to stress, and how once upon a time when it was a really good thing that got us out of danger and kept us alive, today we don't manage our response to stress quite as well as that, essentially because we don't actually do the physical release that our body is designed to do to actually deal with the stress hormones and to allow the body to come back to homeostasis, or that beautiful place of dynamic balance where our respiratory rate comes back to suit the level of activity that we're doing, where our heart rate comes back to that beautiful place of balance to suit the level of activity that we're doing, where the energy flow and the blood flow goes back to all parts of the body and nothing's prioritised over and above and at the expense of other parts. So our digestive system comes back online, all of those sort of things. So when we do suffer chronic stress, we often suffer that lack of appetite. We often feel edgy and on edge. And I'd be really keen, Katerina, you're the lucky person today, if you would like to maybe pop in the comments there some of the signals that you experience from your body when you know you're feeling stressed. I certainly know for me, I definitely have this capability or this immediate response to do this. And I see this in a lot of women in particular who work in an office environment, particularly those who are often under the pump to get a lot of work done in a very short amount of time. And that, I think, describes about 99% of the population these days. With the advent of technology, which is absolutely wonderful, human beings are being expected to operate at superhuman speed and capacity. You know, we aren't computers, we aren't machines, and Katerina is saying, yes, her shoulders stiffen up. Yeah, and I think that's a fairly common response for a lot of people. And I see Adair Palmer has joined in. Thanks, Adair, for popping in. I know you're very busy and you're masquerading as My Time TV. That's great. Thank you, Adair. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. And funnily enough, I'm talking about stress. So you might get some useful tips out of today's chat, and I'd be very keen to hear what you'd like to contribute. And Katerina saying reflux feels worse when you're stressed. Yeah. Absolutely, I can understand why that would be. The whole digestive system gets out of whack when we're under stress. So there's tendency for many of us to rise to the upper chest and lift the shoulders when we're feeling tense, when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling under pressure. I think comes from a number of different areas. Certainly there's that whole idea of when we are forcing ourselves to sit down in front of technology that moves way too fast for us, and being expecting ourselves and having other people expecting us to meet artificial deadlines. You know, we have incredibly high expectations of what our physical body can actually manage when we have such incredibly speedy, fantastic technology to work with. We forget that our bodies are designed to move, and that we have beautiful brains that are meant to function in a particular way. And I see Savitri has joined us. Welcome, Savitri. It's wonderful to see you here. So when we start to notice these symptoms of stress in our body, which can be this sort of thing, and breathing becomes up in the chest and becomes shallower and maybe a little more rapid. And there could also be a tendency to be leaning in, particularly if you're doing computer work. It seems, you know, if I could just lean in a little bit closer, I'd be able to get it done faster. You know, there's this whole concentration of energy forward this way. So this then starts to lock up the whole of this upper body. And when you think about it, our shoulders in particular are designed for an incredible range of movement. If you look at what your shoulder can do, it's quite incredible. And so we get intense shoulder pain from working the way our computers make us work, which is like this, locked in a position doing weeny little movements that our arms just aren't designed to do. They're designed to do big stuff, throw spears, haul nets, pick crops, catch kids, you know, the whole works and jerks, not sit down and do this in front of a computer 8 hours a day if you're lucky, probably 12 to 15 if you're a bit like Adair and me, I would imagine. So yeah, those are some things to take into consideration. Also, coming to grips with the reality of what's a drop dead deadline. I used to work in advertising, so you know, and I used to work in advertising back in the day, here we go, showing my age, before we had email, so that I would actually have to send artwork out to a bureau where it was run through a photo typesetter and then come back to me, and it would be cut up and pasted and then mailed or couriered to whichever newspaper or whatever it was meant to go to. So that was very interesting, and with the advent of email and so on, that certainly sped up that process, but it made our deadlines do this. So, you know, you used to be able to get away with telling clients, okay, if I don't get copy from you a week out from the deadline, it's not happening. These days, well, I don't do it anymore. I haven't done it for years and years. But certainly these days, I know people push those parameters. You know, I can get copy to you half an hour before the deadline because you're such a whiz and you'll just pump it through, and we don't care what else you've got backed up behind you. So, you know, we do put unreal expectations on ourselves and unreal expectations on the people around us, because technology is so fast, technology is so clever, and it's not that humans aren't fast or clever, it's just that we're designed differently, and we're not designed to work the way technology is making us work. And Katerina is saying that she sometimes gets cramps in her legs when she's stressed. That's interesting. I wonder if that's your body subconsciously wanting to run, and then clamping down on that physiological response to, no, I can't run, I'm just doing whatever, maybe you're giving a presentation or something, so running away is certainly not the response that you'd want to have in that sort of instance. But that's an interesting physiological response. So getting back on topic, because I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, sorry, hang on a moment. Take a drink of water, come down into my root chakra, feel myself earthed and grounded. And now I'm moving much more slowly and much more in congruence with the way the human body would like to operate. So that's one little tip for you when you do start to feel that energy shifting upwards, when you feel those shoulders rising, when you feel that breath lifting up into your chest. Become familiar with your own physiology and have a think about, well, where do I want my energy to sit so I can stay centered and focused, because that's the best way for me to get through what I need to get through. So for me, it's actually working with the chakras and also feeling that really strong connection with the earth. So when I do that, when I consciously choose to sit in my root chakra, even my throat, I feel my throat change. When I think about sitting in my root chakra, when I think about sending my energy down into the earth, I feel that slowness, that deep earthen rhythm of the earth goddess at my feet. And that feels so solid and grounded that I have no choice but to slow down. So that's a really nice technique for people who are familiar with their energy body and familiar with their root chakra and are able to make that switch consciously and be able to stay centered and focused to work. It's something that I do every day in my healing practice, is to be centered in my own energy, so I know the difference between where I end and the other person starts. But it doesn't mean that it's only restricted to healers. Anybody can pick up this skill and become familiar, and that's part of what I try to teach people when they come to me for healing, when they come to me for coaching. The work that I do is as much about teaching you how to connect with your body, your energy body, and your inner guidance, as it is about me reminding your body how to be in balance. So Katerina is saying, great confirmation. I was reminded to ground to Mother Earth. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Katerina, how sometimes the messages we need to hear come through the mouths of other people. So yeah, I often get that happening for me too. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, and here's a really easily accessible technique for you, and it's of course connecting with the breath. So when you take the time to notice what's happening with your breath, most of us sit in this top section of our chest, and like our ribs extend quite a way down and our lungs extend quite a way down within that beautiful rib cage. So we don't have just this top 3 or 4 ribs to breathe with. We've got, down to 6 or 7 ribs to breathe with, even maybe further. So connecting with the idea of your breath and just noticing where it sits to start with is step 1. When you're feeling stressed, often it's the breath that you notice, or it's this area here, the neck shoulder sort of junction where, I don't know, your shoulders are trying to come up to support your head or something. I don't know what's going on with that response, but it's interesting. I see it so commonly, particularly in women in an office environment. Excuse me. So drawing breath and having that come to a place where it supports calmness in the body is a beautiful way to step out of that stress response. And it also tells the nervous system itself. So when we are able to change our breathing, change our breath rate, it actually starts to send signals back to the nervous system that I'm actually okay, I'm actually safe, I actually don't need to be running away from anything that's going to eat me. My breathing rate can slow. So when we consciously choose to start altering some of our physiological responses, we can actually talk to our own nervous system and actually talk to our body and just reassure the body that it's safe. So, there is this really strong connection, I believe, between our body and our subconscious. In fact, there is a school of thought that would say the body is the subconscious. And it's also our divine vessel that carries our true purpose into this plane and helps us plug in the purpose that we bring into the earth here. Okay, so our body is very, very important. Many of us walk around unconnected from the body. So connecting with the breath is a really nice, easy way to start making that relationship between yourself and your body. So I want to share with you, first of all, the 4 square breath. And this is a case of you breathe in for the count of 4, you hold it for the count of 4, you breathe out for the count of 4, and you hold for the count of 4. And to help you remember that's what you're doing and how that works for you, it's nice to sort of visualize breathing in, up one side, holding for the count of 4 across, breathing out down the other side, and holding for the count of 4 across at the bottom, which you can't see because I'm below the screen there. So you've almost got a square here that goes across your chest and down across the stomach area. So we might just try that a couple of breaths. I'm just going to take a drink before I start breathing. Hang on a minute. So your 4 square breath. Whoops, knocking my notes flying. So what we want to do is breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, coming across the middle, which you can't see, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. So you can see how that slows your breathing down and how you really consciously think about what your breath is doing and where it's moving in your body. That's a really nice way. So just take note of how you feel just now, having done 2 breaths only. You can sit there and do a couple more if you like, but you can just feel the body automatically starts to find that really nice sense of calm. There's a slowness and a peacefulness, an easiness of being in your body when you're able to adjust your breathing and just allow it to slow down a little bit. So that's your 4 square breath. I'm going to give you another breathing technique which I really like, and those of you who do Qigong are probably really familiar with this already. What I'd like you to do is get your thumbs together in your belly button, so pop your thumbs into your belly button and then just allow your index fingers to fall downwards on your abdomen. I'll just look through the window there. So that where your index fingers touch, that's where we want to bring your attention. So I'm going to do that too, just popping my thumbs into my belly button and just allowing the index fingers to gently fall on the lower belly there. So it's between your belly button and your pubic bone. And maybe just giving 1, 2, 3 little presses there so you can really feel what area we're talking about. And then just allow your awareness or your imagination to draw your senses slightly in. So you're imagining a space in line with where you're touching on the surface of the skin that sits inside the abdomen. Okay, so connecting in here with the place of your divine spark. And you might like to imagine this beautiful little candle flame that lives in here, the essence of you, your divine spark, or the Tantian, which is the Sea of Qi, if you're looking from a traditional Chinese perspective. But this is the place that I want you to connect with. And what I want you to have a go at is allowing the breath to connect with that point. So bringing your breath down into your belly. And as you do that, allowing the belly to just gently rise under your hands. It's almost like a little balloon blowing. And then with the out breath, just allowing that belly to drop towards your back. And then drawing the next in breath right down to the belly. And I'm feeling myself heat up because my energy flow is triggering here. And then breathing out, just allowing that belly to fall towards your spine, gently easing backwards. And as you do this breath, actually take note of the inward breath. So you're pulling it in as far as it will go. Without strain, don't strain to do this. And then when you exhale, allowing the exhale to go as far as it'll go, and then allowing that area of the abdomen to just give a little push, just to make sure you've reached the end of the exhalation before you start breathing in again. And this is a really beautiful way when you are feeling right up here. This is a beautiful way to come right down. It gets you close to that root chakra. It pulls you right into your deep center. And it slows the nervous system down beautifully. So if you're preparing for a public speaking gig or something and you're walking around like this beautiful chi breath is a great way to calm yourself, to actually energize the whole body and have oxygen flowing around the body so that you have the reserve it takes to get out there and have a commanding presence to deliver your message, because your message is really important. So don't let the lack of breath take away your voice. Okay, this is a really beautiful way to empower your voice. And even if you're not doing a public speaking gig, this is a really powerful way to keep you connected, to energize the body and keep you going so you can get through the work you need to do. Okay, so that's two really cool techniques. I'm just going to check on the time. Wow, that time went really fast. Okay, so one of the other techniques I want to give you, particularly for people who are tied to their computers and don't give themselves enough break from their computer, I want you to make a deal with yourself, make a promise, make a commitment, whatever form it takes for you, to at lunchtime get up away from your desk. Don't bring sandwiches to eat at your computer. Get up, walk away from your computer. If you can, walk outside of your building. Take yourself out for a treat. It doesn't have to be every day, but at least once a week. Treat yourself to a beautiful lunch in a beautiful environment, whether you're with a friend or whether you're by yourself. This is really important, that you take yourself right out of your workspace, right out of the building, go somewhere that is beautiful, that uplifts you. And then when you're there, pay attention. This is a little mindfulness activity for you. So pay attention to what you feel like eating, because you're going to take yourself somewhere for lunch, okay? And you're going to order yourself some lunch. So pick somewhere nice. Pick somewhere that you like. Pick somewhere that gives you food, that gives you good nourishment, that you enjoy eating. And be really mindful of what your body's asking for. Have a look at the menu and then ask the question, what do you want to eat today? And listen. And it could be that you're in the wrong restaurant or wrong cafe altogether, and you might have to get up and go to the one next door. That's okay. This is a really good exercise for you. Go to the one next door, see what's on the menu, and ask yourself, what do I feel like eating today? And if there's something on there, order it, get yourself comfortable, and then pay attention to what you're eating. Every single mouthful, what it looks like on your plate when it's delivered, what it smells like, the fragrance that comes up off the plate, what you feel when the food's put down in front of you. What the first mouthful is like, taking it in, letting it sit in your mouth, seeing what flavours you notice. What's the texture like? Really pay attention to the food that you're eating. Okay, this is a really neat mindfulness activity, and I think it would be a beautiful gift to give yourself at least once a week. So make a promise, make a deal, make a commitment, and treat yourself to lunch at least once a week so that you can practice mindful eating. And it could be something that you already do anyway with your breakfast or your first morning cuppa or with your dinner or something like that. You could already have a beautiful mindfulness routine in your day. But if you don't, take this one on board, listen to what your body's asking for, and then give it what it's asking for with grace, with love, and with clear, conscious attention. And just see how you feel after lunch when you go back to work. Just notice what's happening for you and how differently you get through your afternoon. I think I'd be really interested, if anybody is going to have a go at this. If you want to come back and put some comments in about what that experience was like for you, I would really love to know. And if you're already engaging in mindfulness activity anyway, I'd love to know how that's going for you too. And Adair is saying, missed some of this, I'll pop back. Ears picked up with mindful eating. Excellent, beautiful. And the reason why I picked eating as your mindfulness activity is because it gets back to what happens to our digestive system when we're in the middle of that stress response. So if you remember right back to what I was talking about at the beginning, blood and energy is actually diverted from your digestive system out to the extremities so that your legs and your arms, your heart, your lungs have the blood and energy they need for instant action to get you out of danger. So this is why when we're really, really stressed, we often don't feel hungry. We exist on cups of tea or coffee or cigarettes or both, because they give us that instant hit of energy. And as you might remember, Christy was talking last week about these being stimulants. So they trick the body into thinking it's been given something and it uses up all this reserve, but in actual fact it's emptiness that lies underneath it. And Adair's saying, I thought my body was asking for toasted cheese sangers last night, so I made some. First time in a long time I've eaten bread. Tasted like cardboard. Isn't that interesting? Yep. And maybe this is your body checking in to see what you've learnt, and the universe checking in to see what you've learnt. So that's great. Katerina, you're asking for my contact details. That would be beautiful. I would love to connect with you. You can contact me on my mobile anytime on 0407 790 373, or you can connect with me at my Facebook page on Love Lali. And what I'll do after this is I'll put my contact details in the comments or in the description above here for anybody who would like to connect. That would be gorgeous. Now, I was going to say one more thing. Oh, yes, the digestion. So, yes, bringing mindful eating in is also signalling to your body that we can move out of the stress response. I'm in a place where it's safe for me to rest and digest. Okay, so your breath, your mindful eating. And so the last thing I want to leave you with, we're right at the half-hour mark, so I'll make this really quick, is movement. And I started the session, thank you so much for the love hearts, Adair, thank you. I started the session telling you our body is designed to move, and it is. So organising some form of movement into your day is vital. As a bodywork therapist, amongst other things, I see so many people dealing with pain that's triggered by restricted movement. And often this pain is alleviated by appropriate movement. So My Time TV, which could be Adair, after fasting, food tastes so good and the enjoyment factor is amazing. I'm also much more discerning on what I choose to eat. Yes, absolutely. That's so true. And I see we had someone else join us, Theone. Maybe Theone, that was you from My Time TV. Anyway, welcome. So yeah, the last little tip I want to give you is movement, but the key is appropriate movement. Okay, so Christy did allude to the fact last week when we talked about adrenal fatigue that people in the hyper stage of stress response feel the need. Oh, Savitri, that's fine. My Time TV's tricked you. It does that to me too. That's okay, Savitri. I'm glad to hear that your experience with fasting has made you appreciate the textures and tastes of food differently. It's interesting, isn't it? So yeah, last tip, appropriate movement. So when you're really hyper and you feel like you want to be jogging and doing a hard workout, that might be good to help the body cleanse of the chemicals of that adrenal response. But then you also need to start looking at things that help your body unwind and recover some movement. So if you're already managing injury, if you're recovering from surgery or illness, then you will need to explore some different types of movements. And everybody says yoga, but there are so many different types of yoga out there. So if yoga is your thing, make sure you check out the different schools of yoga, because there could be something out there that is even more your thing. So, you know, Tai Chi is a beautiful way to move. Dance is a beautiful way to move. Tai Chi is a beautiful way to move. There are a lot of options out there. So shop around, try them out. See what makes your body feel really good. And if you're interested in exploring some of the emotions, some of the memories, some of the triggers that are buried in your body, then I highly recommend Yin Yoga. It's a really great way to start connecting with what your body is trying to tell you. Anyway, that's my final tip for today. There's some stress busting techniques for you, some easy breathing techniques that are going to bring you back into the center of your body and actually tell your nervous system we can switch out of flight and fight and go back into rest digest. Just don't go too far into the rest digest, because if you fall asleep in front of your work, then you know you're probably going to wake up more stressed. Rewa, I hope I've said your name correctly. I'm glad you found that useful. So yes, your breathing techniques, some mindful eating, so that you bring some energy and awareness back into the digestive system, as well as giving your thought processes a rest. And movement, finding what's appropriate for you to be doing with your body is really cool. And for those who are connected with their energy bodies, moving down into that root chakra, whenever you feel that energy coming up this way, take that time to just draw it back down, reconnect with Mother Earth. Okay, I'm Linda Emsley from Love Lali. I have really enjoyed my lounge room chat with you lovely ladies today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you've all been enjoying the Spiritual and Wellness Expo that Adair and Roy Fensom have put together. And I'm very honoured that my lounge room chat is in amongst that as part of the expo. So thank you again, Adair, for everything you've done there. And I'm going to sign off now because I can feel my voice going, and I think that's because I had a bit of yogurt before I came on here, and yogurt and I aren't really good friends, but I like it, so there you go. Okay, I will talk to you in the lounge room, not next week actually, because I'm going camping and I'll be out somewhere where I have no Wi-Fi, no mobile data. Sounds like heaven to me. That's an excellent stress release, that one. But I will be back in 2 weeks' time. So I look forward to connecting with you then. Bye for now.